So now let's talk about tsconfig file, which is actually responsible for compiling our Typescript files into JavaScript file. So to install Typescript globally in your PC, run this command npm install -g Typescript. I have already installed this. Now from here you should select cmd, command prompt, and you can check your Typescript version. So tsc-v. So in my case it is 5.3.3. Now to generate Typescript config file, we have to run tsc-init command, and then here you can see this is our generated tsconfig.json file. Now let's first add a ts file here. So app.ts. Now let's write some code here. So some console log. Suppose this is .ts file. Let's save it and let's create another file. Let's call it demo.ts, and let's add also a console log here. So this is demo.ts. Now if we save this and run the tsc command in the terminal, you will see two JS file has been generated, app.js and demo.js. Now for now let's delete the generated files. Now suppose you have a folder here, so let's create a folder called source, and these two Typescript file. Let's create another folder and let's call this dist. Now suppose you want to generate the JavaScript files inside this dist folder. So for that we have to add some configuration here, and that is actually out directory and root directory. So here we can comment in this, and let's put the out directory to dist and save this. Now if we run tsc command, all the files are generated in this dist folder. We can see this, and if there would be some other file outside source folder, suppose outside.ts, and this is outside of src, and let's save this. You can see the file is outside of the source folder. Now if we run this command again, and you can see that it has generated all the files from source and also outside the JS for this outside.ts file. Now if you only want to include this source folder, then you can do that by specifying the root directory. So you can uncomment this and specify the root directory as your desired folder. So in our case it is source folder. Now let's rerun the tsc command. Now here you can see that this there's no JS file for this Typescript outside.ts. It's also showing this warning here. You can see that the outside.ts file is not under root directory. So this is actually basically the warning. So we will comment it again and save it. Now if you want to exclude or include any specific file, you can obviously do that. There's a configuration for that. After this compiler option, you can specify include, which will be an array of files. So suppose I want to include only demo.ts. Now by default all the files are included. Now in the similar way we can specify exclude. Suppose we want to exclude demo.ts, then we can specify the file. Suppose it will be from this current directory, and then under the source folder and there demo.ts. Now if we save this, and first we need to now let's run this command. You can see inside the source folder only app.js has been generated, so there's no demo.js here. So this is how you can include or exclude some files. Now let's add some modern JavaScript or TypeScript file here. So under this we can use let name or first name. It will be type of string, and let's assign this suppose Robin, and also a const age, and we can define it 25. Now let's save this, and let's look at the tsconfig file in the compiler options. Here you can see that the target is set to ES 2016, which is very modern, which supports this let and constant. So if we now let's run this command again, tsc, and we go to app.js, you can see that there's let and const here. But if we change this to some earlier versions, if you hit Ctrl and space, you'll see different versions. So here ES5 is the oldest one, I think. Oh, not ES3 is the oldest one, but let's try with ES5. Now let's save this and run the command again. Now before running the command, let's look at this generated app.js file. Now if we run this command, you can see those let and const are replaced by var. So you can actually target a specific JavaScript version, which version you want to compile your TypeScript code. So that is how you can actually specify target, and this is the job of this object or configuration. And let's revert back this to ES 2016, which is quite modern. Now if you go to app.ts, and here suppose you want to access for some JavaScript object like document, so const button, and you want to access the document object from the DOM, and there you will write query selector for button, so button, and it will not complain about anything because the document object is recognized by TypeScript, but it should not recognize this because we didn't specify anywhere that it is for written for the browser side code. So how this is actually get recognized? Well, it's because we didn't specify any library. So by default it actually includes some default libraries from this target JavaScript version, but if we specify libraries for empty array and save this, and if we go to TypeScript, you can see that these objects are not actually recognized by TypeScript. But if we suppose add a library like DOM and save it, you can see that the errors are gone, and there are some more libraries. If we press Ctrl and space, you can see all the available libraries. So okay, now let's keep it like default. So let's remove all the thing and comment it and save it. So this was our library property. Now you will find a property no emit. If we uncomment this and save it and delete all the files and save it, and now run the tsc command, you'll see there is no file generated. Well, this is because this configuration is used when you want to just compile, I mean check if there is any error, but and not generate some the JavaScript codes, then you will typically do this, but this is very much rare case. So let's comment this. Now let's talk about this strict property. So basically, if we set strict to true, that means we are setting all of these properties true. So all of them is combined to this one. So you can comment this and individually uncomment this one. Suppose no implicit any. If we set this to true and try to write some function here, suppose function test function, and we will add a parameter here, and we will do nothing, some console log for now. Now you can see it's already complaining about parameter. So if you hover over it, it's saying that implicitly it has any type, but we have to manually type any. Now if you don't want this or if you want to disable this type checking, then you can actually turn this into false and save this. Now it will not complain about this implicit any type definition. Now set this to true again, because we want to make sure our app actually checks all the potential errors. So here, now if we want to add some click event here, so button, so add event listener, let's say for click, we want to add a function. So for now let's do nothing. You can see that this is okay, this is a valid TypeScript code, but if we try to set this configuration strict null checks to true and save this, you can see that it's actually complaining that button can be null. So we have to actually either make it false. Now this will be gone, or we can do, if we are sure that this button will not be null, we can actually do this, put an exclamation mark at the end of this query selector, so that we can tell the TypeScript compiler, that this button will not be null, and we can add the event listener. And similarly, these all properties are actually making sure that there is no possibility of any error, runtime error. So instead of turning all of them to true, what we can do, we can actually ignore all this, and we can actually make only this strict to true. And now if we try to access this button without exclamation mark, then we will see that we have null error, and also this one. So the better practice is to set this strict to true and apply the fixes. Like there's two fixes for this. One is to add a exclamation mark here, and another one would be check if button is not null, then we'll move this code here, so like this. And also you have to very specific that how which type will be the parameter, like string, or if you are not sure, then you can put any. So that's it for this video. See you in the next video.